With us on High Bank Fury, I have Deb Williams, the 2026 winner of the Squire Hall Award for Broadcast Excellence or Media Journalism Excellence for NASCAR, and also Jonathan Coleman. He is the Communications Director of Charlotte Motor Speedway. Charlotte is one of the premier tracks in all of the country, and we're going to talk more about that in the second show, but we are going to talk about the Charlotte Roval in just a moment. Right now, taking a look at the race yesterday at Kansas Motor Speedway, we see, both of you, why Kansas is considered such a driver's track.
Yeah, I think you see that it is a racer's racetrack for sure. I think you also see the I guess temperament that really ramps up in the playoffs. And when you've got teammates going at it and you've got driver owners going at it, and everybody's racing for the win. I think it provides a lot of the excitement and a lot of the drama that fans are looking for in the playoffs. Certainly you've got some hard racing, and glad to see Zane Smith, get out of the car and be good after his incident. But it was some terrific racing and really a sign of things to come, I think, for the rest of the playoffs.
Deb.
Yeah, I mean I think Chase Elliott addressed it appropriately as to why Kansas provides such good racing, and that is it has so many different not arrow blocking or taking the lane away, as drivers used to say, isn't prevalent there at Kansas. So if a driver has one lane that they can't use, that's easy for them to move and use another one, particularly entering the turns. And it just provides for fantastic racing.
Yeah, you're both kind of hit the nail on the head. Think about this: 11 leaders, JGR leads 221 laps and does not come away with a victory. Hamlin leads 159. There were 300 cars in the top 9, but I thought a very interesting comment happened with one lap to go. I believe it was Steve Letarte. He sounds so much like Kyle Petty when he's on the broadcast, it seems like. But he says this is Hamlin's race to lose, even though Bubba, he led, going into that. But Bubba got into the 2 incidents. And the second one, Denny Hamlin took his eye off the ball. And you take an experienced driver like Chase Elliott, he drove right underneath them. They went into a little door banging himself, but he had too much momentum to be stopped. And Chase Elliott finally gives Chevy and Hendrick their first win of these playoffs in race 5.
Well, and the interesting thing about that is Chase, when he saw Denny Hamlin slide up and take Bubba with him, he knew exactly where he needed to enter turn 3 and set his eyes on that white line. As he said, he really wanted to see the replay because he didn't know what all was happening. And, don't forget, Denny Hamlin had power steering issues. He really didn't have any power steering.
Yeah.
So Chase just saw the advantage, saw the opening and took it. It kind of reminded me of the 1992 One Hot Night All-Star race at Charlotte Motor Speedway with Dale Earnhardt, Kyle Petty, and Davey Allison.
Yeah, it was terrific racing, and to me, it was one of the most incredible driver performances all season. Watching Denny Hamlin drive without power steering for the second half of that race, folks, and we know this as journalists, but think about this: you driving down the street without power steering for just say a couple of miles to get to the local grocery store, and it's not banked. And no one's looking to run you down at 190 to 210 miles an hour. And Hamlin had to race with that banking, trying to win his 60th Cup race and trying to win his first championship. And he done all that. That was just incredible driving. But it was one little eye off the ball, taking Bubba up the track. And you get a guy like Chase Elliott, he doesn't need to be asked twice what to do.
Oh, no, none whatsoever. And I will say that he's always been a more aggressive driver than Bill, his father, was. Bill was a smooth driver, but he wasn't going to bang doors with somebody. That just wasn't his style. And Chase has not been afraid to be aggressive ever since he drove late models. And I'm sure there was no love lost with Hamlin after the way he turned Chase going into turn 3 at Martinsville that time and possibly cost Chase a win there.
Jonathan?
Yeah, I think, I really loved the post-race interview. I mean, he said I wasn't going to lift. There was no hesitation. He knew what he needed to do to get the win. He knew how important that win was, especially with such a wild card like the Roval coming up before that cutoff race for the next round. To Deb's point, he's an aggressive driver. He's going to go out there and do what it takes. These wins are hard to come by, and especially if you're not driving with a Toyota on the front of the car lately, it seems like. So, he was motivated and he saw his opportunity. Reminded me a lot of Earnhardt back in the day when I forget what it was. He was in 13th, and that was a drafting track, but it was one of those. In the moment, I think it's hard to appreciate, but he restarted in 10th position, I think they said on the broadcast, and came up to win the race. That is absolutely an incredible piece of driving.
Chase, now you have we got you back in the green room just temporarily. Now you've won races in a variety of ways. As far as the cool factor, the awesome factor, is this one way more cool than some of your other ones, or do you want to lead the whole race out front? Is snag a win your strategy, or you just want to win?
I think the most cool and awesome factor is to just dominate. That's the best way to, put a stamp on a win, in my opinion, just being a competitor. But I do think that there are, days and moments like today that, bring a definite level of excitement for everyone, right? Like, I didn't know what was going to happen going into turn 3 any more than anybody else did, So I'm excited to go back and watch it. Honestly, it's you live this stuff and you live these moments, and you obviously I know what my vantage point was, and I remember the things that I was looking at when I was looking at them, but I don't have the full picture, so I'm excited to go back and just see what it all looked like. And I was making split-second decisions based off the information I had in front of me at that time, right? And so I definitely think there's a level of excitement to that one that I'm not sure I've experienced in the Cup Series to this point. I mean, I've been on the opposing end of some excitement for sure, but I don't know. At least in my Cup career, I could be wrong on that. I'd have to go back and kind of think about it. But it was definitely a cool one, and any win though is great. I'm not gonna complain about it.
And where he threaded the needle too, coming off of turn 2 between Briscoe and Christopher Bell, when he threaded that needle. That was unbelievable the way he did that.
Yeah, he was. It was almost like a golf ball on top of a hood of a car. I mean, he was slick. He was not to be denied, and he was going to roll somewhere, and he rolled to the victory. Can I ask this question real quick? There's 2 questions I have. To stay on this particular track, Denny Hamlin, after watching all the team drama last week with Ty Gibbs, Christopher Bell, that whole thing rolling into this week, and some of the comments that Hamlin made, I think he feels like this might be his best chance to win a NASCAR championship. What says both of you?
Oh, I agree. He does feel that way. And, I thought it was interesting if people go back and look at Denny Hamlin's history and Ty Gibbs's history. They weren't driving any different last week at New Hampshire than what they've driven their entire career. Ty Gibbs drove just like he drove in late models and ARCA, and Denny Hamlin just drove like he's always driven. But I think you're right. Even though Denny announced in Indianapolis that he had signed a 2-year extension to his contract, I think he knows how difficult each year is, and he's actually working out more and training more and doing more preparation, the most he's ever done in his career. And I think he realizes he's got to take the advantage, and he can't say, "Oh, well, I'll get it next year or the next year." It's got to be this year.
So completely agree. I mean, I think everybody recognizes how difficult it is to get a win, much less a championship. And I think he knows he's surrounded by a great team and he's got a great opportunity, and he's going to do everything he can to go out there and do what he needs to do to get it done and get that monkey off his back.
Final observation, Zane Smith, it was an innocent move by John Hunter Nemechek, who got into a couple people yesterday. It looked like a big fat nothing, and all of a sudden, Zane Smith, was your heart palpitating at all? Mine was.
It actually brought back bad memories to me of Kenny Irwin Jr. at New Hampshire, because I was just so thankful that we now have the drivers encapsulated in those seats and the head protectant there, because Kenny Irwin Jr. didn't have that when he went on the driver's side and slid through turns 3 and stopped between 3 and 4 at New Hampshire in July 2000. And we don't have Kenny Irwin Jr. anymore. So that was what came back to my mind immediately when I saw that accident, was what had happened at New Hampshire in 2000.
And there we go. That's a good sign.
And with that, what we'd like to do is that we're going to take a real quick break. And when we come back, we are going to be talking about the Charlotte Roval. This is a cutoff race. And this is something that we have our Hall of Fame writer, Deb Williams, and also we have Jonathan Coleman, who is going to be co-hosting at the track this weekend. We have that for you next.
NASCAR but don't know who to root for? Toyota's got you covered. This guy went from dirt tracks to cup cars. This new kid is all gas, no brakes. And him, just a 3-time Daytona winner, no big deal. That's just a taste of our team of legends. Now you're up to speed. You in?
Yeah, that's Oscar, my dog. This is his little plushie, but we sell him at the merch trailer. We got him back in stock. We sold a few more than we thought right off the bat, but supports my foundation for the animal welfare side of things. All the proceeds and profits go back to the foundation for the animal welfare program. So back in stock this weekend. So yeah, if you get a chance to head out to the merch trailer, we got him back for you.
Well, you heard in the first half of our first episode about Kansas Motor Speedway, and we now move to the Charlotte Roval. And I'll tell you, we talked about this, Jonathan, under a month ago. It's out of all the road courses, street races, all that, this is the only one where you can see every turn. And this is a place that you definitely want to get a chance to take your family and get your race on.
Yeah, I think part of what sets the Roval apart, over and above the track conditions and how you have to set the car up and everything else, is the fact that you can see the entire facility of a road course. And there's not another road course out there where, from a fan's perspective, you can take in every single corner. And as we've seen in years past, every turn matters. So, you want to be able to follow your driver from turn 1 right through turn 17 and make sure he's keeping his nose clean and nobody's doing anything crazy to push him out of the way or whatever the case may be. So it's a really unique opportunity for fans to come out and see some terrific racing and see it all across the entirety of the racetrack.
Deb.
Oh, I enjoy it tremendously because it is so challenging. And I was fortunate enough decades ago to go through Formula Ford driving school on that road course. So it has a special place in my heart, plus covering IMSA on that road course, which is, it's changed now, but there's still parts of it that were used by IMSA in the 1980s when they were there. And just to see the course set up and how it doesn't even look like a temporary course, and the way they've changed it and used it and all, it just provides fantastic racing and keeps everyone on the edge of their seat.
And we have right now Chase Elliott, the winner at Kansas of the Hollywood 400, and he has talked about strategy changes. Chase, how does this change your strategy? You've won, you've got points in the bag, you're going for points, you're going for setting your car up for the future. I mean, what are you doing there in Kansas? Are you racing any different?
I think we run the race to try and win it for sure. Flip stages and points doesn't matter, at this juncture. So I think for us, if we can, if we're competitive, if we're not competitive and we can get a stage point or a stage win and get the bonus point that way, then of course. But assuming you have pace, is kind of how I was answering those questions. If we're slow, then that don't matter, anyway. So we gotta go be fast, and if we're fast, then at least we can run our strategy how we would typically do it to have a shot to win.
Well, Deb and Jonathan, you see that Chase he will be looking a little bit to the future, but the Roval kind of is an animal or a track all of its own. So I think that they're going to be looking for both. What says you?
Yeah, I think he has found a lot of success here. He's figured out how to get around the Roval successfully on two different occasions. He's figured out how to drive up through the field and make the most of every opportunity. But I think he's got to have a little bit of a sense of relief knowing that he doesn't have to perform well. There are some of those drivers that are right there on the cut line, and a good performance on Sunday is the only thing that keeps their championship hopes alive. Um, but I think that's part of what makes this so interesting, both the playoff format and this race in its place as a cutoff is there are so many different strategies at play. And you're going to have some guys that are going out there looking for that playoff point because that's going to matter with the stage racing and where they can grab those little ones and twos points. And then you're going to have other guys that are going to completely flip the script to understand that a win is the only way that they advance. It should make for a really intense. I'm glad I'm not sitting up on top of the box trying to keep up with what everybody else is doing to figure out how my driver and my strategy needs to play out because there is so much happening and it all can change in a heartbeat.
So, taking a look at some of the picks for this particular week, uh, as far as some of the guys that might come through or people who have had success at the Charlotte Roval, you're taking a look. Kyle Larson has won here twice, once pre-next gen car, one just recently. And then you've got, Tyler Reddick. You've got SVG, you've got William Byron, AJ Allmendinger, Christopher Bell. There's a lot of guys that are on the list this week. You guys have anybody out there you think that might just go ahead and take the checkered flag?
Oh, as close as it is right now, I would not want to have to be laying the odds out in Vegas. I can tell you that. I know a lot of people are giving SVG the win, and I don't think they should because of some of those people you mentioned, such as AJ Allmendinger. And I think a lot of people have forgotten what a good road racer Austin Cindric is. And if Austin Cindric wants to advance, he's going to have to win because of the deficit he's in right now after being caught up in the multi-car crash at Kansas. So I think for anybody to just right off the deed to Connor Zilich in the Xfinity Series and Shane Van Giesenbergen in the Cup Series and Corey Heim in the truck. I mean, with all those being cut off races, the tension's going to be so thick you could cut it with a knife.
Jonathan.
Yeah, I think the Toyotas obviously have run strong throughout the playoffs. We saw them run strong again in Kansas. They just didn't quite get it done. But I look at somebody like a Christopher Bell that's had some success here in the past and wouldn't be surprised to see him back in victory lane. I'm right there with Deb. I think part of the excitement of it is, there are any number of drivers that can figure out how to get it done and advance. And there are just as many probably dark horses that are not looking for a playoff advancement, but they're looking for a win, and they've got some road course experience. So you think about the SVGs and the AJ Allmendingers, to them, this is the championship, right? This may be the last chance at a win in 2025. So, everybody's going to go out there and leave it all on the line. I would not want to pick a favorite, that's for sure, because I don't know that there is a clear one to choose.
Well, we will be moving to the final 8 after this race. I would say that 5 or 6 guys are basically locked in. We know 2 for sure, with Elliott and Blaney having the race wins in this in the round of 12 going to 8. But Kyle Larson, Hamlin, Christopher Bell, and William Byron, I think are basically there. It's going to be Briscoe and Logano who are they're above the cut line, but if I would try to go for some points and get a stage win or get 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points in each one of those stages, because like you guys mentioned, Austin Cindric is a very good road course driver, but he basically is in a win or go home mode. And I think that Tyler Reddick is pretty much in that same boat as well. And for that matter, Bubba Wallace I think could be as well because he's in the mid-20s behind. Do you guys think all those guys mentioned are all in a win or go home mode, or you think somebody could still point their way in?
I think that's pretty much the case that they're looking at in that respect. And you know, the interesting thing about Chase Briscoe is he's finished in the top 10 in every single playoff race. And he knew, I mean, he was told that he couldn't let Bubba Wallace win at Kansas because that put him in a precarious position in regards to the cut line. And at one point, as those laps were winding down, he was 1 point above the cut line. And he said he had never been in that position before when he lined up behind Christopher Bell in the restarts there in the overtime, of having to make sure that he had to keep Bubba from winning somehow.
Yeah, I think you have to approach it as a win or go home, because there are so many different strategies at play, because there are so many corners that can jump up and bite you, whether that's the new turn 7 that the track debuted last year, or down in turn 17 where all the way back to the inaugural event we saw the race come down to literally the very last corner. So I think, you know, if you're one of those drivers who is not comfortably in, I think you have to approach it as a win and go home, at least to get the first couple of stages under your belt and sort of see where the points may shake out, who may have gotten caught up in an early, you know, miscue. But I don't think you're going to want to, you know, sandbag and try to avoid, you know, running up front and mixing it up on some of those restarts, because I think you'll find yourself at the end of the race in a hole that may be too big to climb out of.
All right, this is probably a great spot for us to end this episode. Jonathan Coleman, you are the communications director at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're going to talk about all the great things about your track on the other side of this episode. We have Deb Williams from Auto Week magazine. Deb, we're also going to talk more about you in the next episode. I want to thank you both for coming on, and we're going to see everybody on the flip side.
NASCAR Cup Series champion. Is that an omen for Kyle Larson and the HendrickCars.com Chevy team? Everybody here at the track has been raving about the weather this week. It has been just beautiful. And on a sunny fall afternoon, this California kid has just been dominant. He made up 4 positions on the opening couple of laps, and that was an omen. But for the second time in his career, Kyle Larson wins at the road